Good morning and welcome to the LNG Marketplace Weekly News Flash. Here is the latest news we have selected for you from all over the media. Abundant natural gas resources, an all-electric plant, and just a 9-day hop to energy-hungry Asian markets were not enough to convince Chevron to pursue its Kitimat gas export project in Western Canada. Chevron's decision to sell its 50% stake in the project throws a symbolic dash of long-dated cold water on growth in the Canadian natural gas industry. Earlier this month, the Canada Energy Regulator approved a 40-year license to export natural gas for Kitimat LNG, doubling its previous license duration and nearly doubling the potential output, as we read on worldoil.com. The new Russian-Chinese gas pipeline, the so-called Power of Siberia project, is a colossal feat of engineering, but as often is the case with central planning, big doesn't always mean economically optimal. Analysts claim that it is not sure whether Gazprom will make a profit on the project. So why bother? Russia is diversifying its exports away from European market, and China in turn is getting relief from the self-imposed pain of Beijing's tariffs on imports of US LNG, as stated on Fortune.com. According to Oil and Gas 360, Russia's Novatek is pressing ahead with the construction of its second Arctic LNG export project, while in the meantime also planning to develop LNG downstream business in Germany and Poland. Arctic LNG is Novatek's second large-scale LNG export plant following the launch of the Yamal LNG project 2 years ago. Novatek's pursuit to become one of the world's largest LNG exporters does not stop with these two, as the company is mulling to build a third LNG project in the Arctic, with the working name of OB LNG. Asian LNG buyers are starting talks with producers to renew long-term contracts due to expire over the next few years. The abundant supply has toughened buyers' bargaining stance, forcing producers to lower their asking prices and discuss exit clauses in the new contracts. Most Asian buyers purchase LNG priced against Brent crude oil, and the discussions for the price slope for new contracts have dropped to close to 11% versus 15% about 10 years ago. All eyes are focused on Qatar Gas and KOGAS, which are in talks to renew their new long-term contract, as the new deal could become a benchmark for other contract renewals. More about new clauses in LNG contracts you can read on Hellenic Shipping News. On the same website, we find that a very interesting offer to supply Cyprus with LNG was made by the Norwegian firm Höegh LNG. Höegh LNG owns the largest, most modern FSRU fleet in the market. The chartering of the FSRU instead of building a terminal offers a fast and flexible solution to the import of LNG. It could also be an interim solution until longer-term supply of gas is secured. Cyprus's own production starts by 2025. Titan LNG has contracted Fearnleys, a Norwegian shipbroker, to run the tender process for a new-built LNG bunker barge. The technical and economical feasibility assessment has been finalized. The Titan Hyperion will be the third largest barge that the independent LNG bunker supplier Titan LNG will operate. It is stated as well on HellenicShippingNews.com. Spot LNG volumes traded by Glencore in 2019 have increased by more than 75% from last year, with the company ramping up its Asian presence. Major trading firms have steadily built up a significant presence in LNG, although Glencore up to now has lagged far behind Gunvor, Vitol, and Trafigura. This piece of news we found on Finance Yahoo. Calling the risk of explosions very low, a federal agency has approved a special permit for Energy Transport Solutions, a subsidiary of New Fortress Energy, to transport LNG by rail. Transporting LNG by rail is federally prohibited without special authorization, states EU Courier Post Online. Qatar's decision to ramp up production on LNG destined for export could imperil major LNG projects in Louisiana, including Driftwood LNG and Magnolia LNG, both of which are expected to make final investment decisions. The US is on track to overtake Qatar and Australia as top LNG exporter by 2024. But now will only hold that title for a few years, given Qatar's recent announcement that it will boost production by 64% by 2027. Qatar's plans add another challenging for dozens of long-in-development projects already contending with the difficult finding of customers due to the US-China trade war and the glut of supply worldwide, as we read on businessreport.com. Houston-based Cameron LNG export facility in southwest Louisiana, which failed to report a liquefied natural gas leak just one day after it began production, won't be required to pay a fine after it settled with federal regulators. The settlement downgraded the proposed penalty to zero and will serve as a warning for Cameron LNG, as we have read on advocate.com. Total and CMA-CGM have signed an agreement for LNG supply over 10 years. Total will provide a suitable solution for bunkering the container ships with an LNG bunker vessels at Marseille and a complementary bunkering solution in Singapore. These new supply chains will further expand the use of LNG as marine fuel, particularly in the Mediterranean Sea, states Riviera Maritime. Inox India has commissioned India's first LNG dispensing station at the Petronet LNG terminal, which will dispense fuel to buses. There is a vision of commissioning 25 more LNG LCNG dispensing stations in the coming 2 years across the country, as is stated on gasworld.com. And last but not least, Vitol has signed a sale and purchase agreement with Nigeria LNG for a part of its production. This we found on energyvoice.com. That's it for this week. Tune in next week for more news, and until then, thanks for tuning in.